about 9, my dad left and moved away. I remember vividly my life just going downhill after that. I was 9, 10, elementary school, just angry and upset because imagine a little girl having a father-daughter dance and your dad was not there to participate. Around middle school was when I guess I really started to show out. At this time, my dad was living in Orlando. My parents are divorced. And I was living with my mom at the time. We weren't getting along. And I asked my dad, I said, can I come live with you? It was the best yet most traumatizing decision I've ever made in my life. I was faced with things that I tend to bury, realizing that I couldn't receive from my natural father, or I couldn't really take to the guidance that he was trying to give me because of that hurt that was there. It was almost like, well, you were gone for so long, why are you trying to father me now? It just made me more angry. It made me more violent in the aspect of I was quick to snap. I didn't know how to communicate. It was to a point I had to speak to a guidance counselor because she was just like, look, we're gonna advise you to take anger management classes. And I finally came across somebody who actually sat down and spoke to me. Something resurfaced that I completely forgot about that had happened to me when I was 3. And I was molested by my cousin. And when that came rushing back to me, all these years, it's like I forgot about it. But when it came back, it was like, that happened to me. That happened. And I remember it was as if it happened all over again. And leading up after that was high school, which is when I started drugs. Whenever I was taking these drugs is when I felt the happiest. I felt was when I could laugh the most. But I still felt like something was missing. I still just felt that anger all over again. I started to take Xanax pills, and it would put me into such a deep sleep. Like I would sleep from when I come home from school to waking up the next day in the morning to get ready for school. And I felt like it was the best sleep I ever had in my life. I thought it was the best sleep in the world. But I wasn't in reality, that's why. You know, it took me away from the things that I had to face, which was depression, which was not liking where I was, even who I was. And this time was when I started to also explore and with girls. And the need to get high was just growing and growing. Because when you really start to lose yourself, or speaking in terms of me, when I really started to lose myself, the things I thought I would care about, I didn't. My best friend has always been my guardian angel sent from God. And one day I went to her house. I walked all the way to her house, and she started to go to a Bible study, a house of peace, and she's had her encounter with God. She started her walk with God before I did. And she started to talk to me. She started to talk to me about God. She started to talk about what God has done for her and what she's experienced. And at first I was like, okay, I'll go with you. You know, I'll go just because you're asking, but don't expect this to be a normal thing. I'll go because you're asking. But when I went, I've never felt anything like that. It was weird to me. And for me, the person who said I would never come back to this, I kept coming back to then. I finally had an encounter that blew my mind. I had an experience with God myself that in the back of my head, I was like, what is going on here? Why am I crying? Why do I feel this way? But it was beautiful. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I wasn't crying because I was going crazy. I was crying because it honestly, it felt like if somebody was taking their hands and taking the broken pieces and just putting it back together. I've never felt that way. Drugs never allowed me to feel that way. This was better than the quick fix. It's like I began to want to not just receive the love, but I wanted to give it back. It was the best answer that I ever listened to. And I would love for the whole world to know who he is.